So fast forward 2 years and I'm back on the family farm living with my mom, trying to find what I want to do with my life. I worked at a couple odd job places. I worked at like the Dollar General at one point. I told my mom I got fired from that job, but really I quit. I went and worked with my stepdad for a little while, and I'm calling him stepdad for the sake of this video so you guys don't get confused, but that's the man I call dad. He's an iron worker. It is not easy work at all. There are plenty of mornings that my mom had to help him put his socks and shoes on because his body was hurting so bad. But my mom had to help him put his socks and shoes on so that he could get up and still go to work. So he has 3 daughters of his own, and when he married my mom, our family got a little bigger. He didn't have any sons, so I got to be his son and he got to be my dad. So my buddy had this 1-bedroom apartment and I'm 20 years old and he's 21, and we decided to throw a little party over there, and he went and got all the alcohol. What was gonna be like 4 people ends up being like 10 to 12 people. It's the middle of the night, cops get called. They come out there and they're honestly just giving us like a super hard time. So I called my other friend and asked him to come pick me up so that I could stay at his house because the cops said that we could leave. So a few days later, I'm up on the iron working with my dad, and he comes up to me, he said, "Hey boy, your mama called. You got a warrant at the house." So warrant, warrant for your arrest. The cop had put out warrants for all of our arrests. We actually ended up getting lucky and getting pretrial diversion, which was just like probation basically. So fast forward a little bit more, I ended up marrying Elena's mother. She gets pregnant, we have Elena. I'm working at this place called Harris Jewelry. But sales, I was really good at sales. I was #1 in the nation for their company. I ended up being the youngest manager that they ever had. They ended up moving us to Savannah, Georgia, so that I could manage one of their stores up there that was failing and was doing really bad. At this time, I was drinking, yes, but it wasn't like horrible. I was just going to work every day, and when I came home, I'd have like, I don't know, 2 or 3 beers. So that's where everything fell apart with my ex-wife and I, and we got a divorce. We didn't know what we were getting into. We fought all the time. So her and my daughter go back to Florida. Then I meet my son's mother. We met online and she came to visit in Georgia. She was from Oklahoma. And then she gets pregnant. And I was not expecting that, but you know what? I was excited still. I wanted to be closer to my daughter, so I left the company that I was with and we went back to Florida. I rented this little house, and at this point I'm still trying to play music, but it wasn't really anything that was that serious to me. I was just posting videos on the internet every once in a while. I would maybe play a gig or 2 just for fun. But my priorities were making money because I had a family, Our relationship wasn't incredible, to say the least. We just didn't get along. We came from 2 totally different backgrounds. A little over a year after my son was born, we broke up. Of course, her entire family's in Oklahoma. She's in Oklahoma. If it wasn't for me, she wouldn't be in Florida. So they go back to Oklahoma. When my ex-wife and I split and I was still living in Georgia, my daughter went back and forth. It wasn't really an issue for me to see my daughter. So in my mind, I'm not thinking it's going to be an issue at all. I'm thinking, obviously this girl knows I'm a good parent. She has no reason to want to keep me from my child. When we first broke up, she said some weird stuff, but I thought maybe it's just because she's angry because we're breaking up or whatever. Nothing too serious happened that caused us to break up. It wasn't anything like cheating, beating, anything like that. But as time kept going, and I'm sending her money. There's no court order, of course, but I just believed in sending her money. I was sending her like $500 a month. So I'm trying to get her to let my son come spend time with me. And she's just making it extremely difficult. And then she tells me that he's not allowed to come down to Florida and spend time with me, that if I want to see him, I got to go up to Oklahoma. I went back and forth with her on this for a bit because, my family wants to see him too. And Elena needs to see him. Finally, I just gave in because I just wanted to see my son. My biggest goal in my life since I was a kid myself was to be there for my kids and be a good father. So I go up there and I visit him. When I did that, I understood why she was so adamant that I come there. When we get there and I'm texting her, I'm like, "Where are you?" "Oh, we're just running a little bit behind." A process server comes up to me and serves me papers. She's taking me to court. So I'm like, all right, game on. So in Florida, if I wanted to go file papers, I could just go to the courthouse, request the papers that I want, fill them out myself, and turn them into the courts. In Oklahoma, you can't do that. We go to the courthouse, and they said that you have to have an attorney do it. I don't have freaking money, so I got a loan, but got an attorney. So I had this 2006 Dodge Ram. I don't know, that's not a great vehicle at all. Like overheat from time to time, but it was the only vehicle I had, and I couldn't really afford to fly. I could barely afford to drive up there, but it's about 1,000 miles almost exactly. So I drove this Dodge Ram up to Oklahoma. I get there, get a hotel, wake up the next day, go to court. And I win. And I knew I was going to win court because she just made herself look like a fool. After court, we're walking out of the courtroom and my son's over there with his mother. My attorney looks at me and says, "Do you want to see your son now?" I said, "Yeah." So she walks over there. She says, "I'll ask her." She says, "Hey, can you spend some time with the son now?" And Mike says, "Sure, let me take him home and get him changed and stuff." And then she gives me the address so I can go pick my son up and spend the day with him. And it seemed like so easy. I was like, oh my God, maybe she's coming around. So I do. I go get my son. She gives me the diaper bag, take him to McDonald's, and we hang out. I didn't have nowhere really I could go around there. And I text her and I said, I'm going to stay an extra night so I can spend some more time with him. Can I just have him for a little longer? She said, "Yeah, but he needs to eat, so why don't you come back by the house? I'll get the stuff ready. I'll give you his stuff, and then you can take him back and go to the hotel, watch a movie with him or something." So I go back there and I'm sitting outside her house with my son in the back seat, and this dude comes out. I never met him before. He looks like a Jonas brother on steroids. And he comes up and he knocks and he has my son's food in his hand. And so I roll the window down. I said, "Hey, thanks, man." He goes, "Why are you here?" I said, "Well, what do you mean why am I here? I'm here to see my son." He said, "No. Why now? You broke up with her and you left her." And he starts going, I said, "Look, man," I said, "I don't know who you are and I do not have to talk to you about this. And we're not doing this. My son's in the back seat. I'm just here to spend time with him. I'm not letting anything mess that up." He keeps going. So finally, I want to smoke a cigarette. This is stressing me out. And he's standing right in front of my door. I go to open my door so I can step out and smoke a cigarette. And he pushes my door shut. He says, "No, you're not getting out." I put my hands on the steering wheel and I'm gripping it as hard as I can. I've calmed down a lot now, but I used to be crazy. I would fight anybody. I was nuts. God, thinking about this stuff, man, just these memories, man. It's like I'm even getting upset right now thinking about it. She comes out and she opens my back door and starts getting him out of the truck. And I said, "What are you doing?" And she says, "I'm not going to have him out here with this." And then she takes him inside and that dude goes inside and I had to leave. That was the last time I saw my son. I went and I drove and I went to the restaurant by my hotel and I went to that bar and I just sat there and drank and I cried. I've never cried like that in public. And I called my attorney and told her, and she told me, "Relax, we're gonna figure something out." So the court papers, I say I won. I don't know, a lot of people might not consider it winning because it was pretty unfair, but to me it was winning because she didn't get to take my son away, legally anyways. Court paper said that I got him that Christmas. I had to send her a written notice 2 weeks before I was gonna pick him up. And then, in the notice I had to put when I was gonna have him back and all this stuff, where I was gonna be keeping him. So of course I did all this. And she didn't text me back, but I knew she got the notice. I emailed it and I texted. I texted her again and asked her what size he wears so I could get her stuff for Christmas. I texted her and said, "You're ignoring me." And she just sent me a text that said, "Your visitation request is denied." And what does she tell you when you ask her who I am? Do you know that I exist? And then she blocked me. I had my issues before, I obviously had some unresolved issues in my life. But I wasn't like that. I think that pushed me over the edge. I was just thinking, man, if I've tried this long to do the right thing and put, my family first and everybody else first and work my butt off, do stuff that I really don't want to do, and I know I'm doing the right thing, and then this happens to me, of all things, then what's the point? And it just slowly progressed. It just happened. I went from a couple beers to 12 beers a day to having a bottle of scotch or a bottle of whiskey, and I'd come home and I'd put the ice in a cup and just drink straight whiskey. That I drove 1,000 miles. I made multiple different social media accounts trying to reach out to her. Changed phone number. I didn't try. Even changed my number so she wouldn't recognize. And people say, "Well, just get another attorney." I didn't have any money. She blocked me every time. Now I've got I don't have rich family. And I really wish I didn't need one, but I can't sleep with you still on my mind. Maybe in another life you would take his place and you wouldn't be so far away. Honestly, I didn't know what to do. Still to this day, I'm just shocked.
Budweiser sitting in your place.
What's crazy is she knows me. She knows how important it was for me to be a part of my children's lives.
Oh man, didn't stick around, so I made myself this vow that I'd never be the same.
And I remember standing in my kitchen talking to my mom one day, and mom said, "I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is horrible." I said, "I know what I'm gonna do." I said, "I only have one option." I said, "I've got to get famous." I said, if my voice is on the radio and I have my songs on the radio, she's not going to be able to act like I don't exist anymore. She's not going to be able to ignore me. She's not going to be able to avoid me. He's going to ask who I am.
I really wish I didn't need one, but I can't sleep with you still on my mind. Maybe in another life you would take his place and you wouldn't be so.
I quit my job. And I said, I'm going to go. I'm going to just do it. If I'm going all in.
But ever since she took you away, Budweiser is sitting in your place.
And it was not what I thought it was, like, at all.
I'm just a singer, natural born guitar ringer, kind of a clinger, sad old song.